Before we get very far into our next story, we do have a warning for you tonight. What you're about to see and hear may not be suitable for children. Tonight, take a walk in their world.
Okay, so I'm going to start off one little piece, or there's multiple little pieces. This has been a fucked up day. It's been a fucked up week again. Yeah, apparently Mercury's in retrograde. All the technology is failing everywhere, like everywhere. And hold on, there we go. No, I had a little bit of some interesting shit going on. I published an article last week. It would have been, there we go, on, nope, not that one. Here we go, April 5th. Covering the Earth with a sunshade. Solar geoengineering, because that's the new buzzword now. It's solar geoengineering. And basically 2 major studies were released within a couple weeks of each other, all on the topics of solar geoengineering, chemtrails. Let's call it what it is. But it was covered, mainstream media, huge coverage on the subject. And I mean, quite literally, there can be no denying it anymore. When you see these studies, when you read the studies and what they're describing as what they're studying they could do, meaning, of course, that if they're putting the studies out, they're already doing it. We know this. You can no longer deny the existence of chemtrails, because they go into exact discussion of exactly how they're going to spray, what they're going to spray, what height they're going to spray, etc., etc. It can't be denied anymore. Now, what made this interesting is that in the study, they talked about the type of particulates they would use. Of course, the idea being, okay, I'm going to backtrack for a split second. Sorry, guys, I'm not very with it today. It was interesting because these studies kind of marked in time a place of a reoccurrence of the global warming meme. Now, this is really interesting because we have not seen the use of the term global warming since 2015. Because in 2015, of course, there was a shit ton of studies that came out that totally negated that the planet was getting warmer and started proving conclusively the planet's actually cooler. So they immediately changed the meme from global warming to climate change. And the Paris Accords were changed to climate change. So, you know, nice and kind of open to question and open to interpretation. So this article and this set of studies marks a time of them all of a sudden flipping back to the global warming rhetoric, which I find really, really fucking interesting. Because like I said, that global warming has been kind of taken off the table for a good 2.5, almost 3 years now. When they discuss how they're going to spray these particulates in the air to basically block the sun's rays, to insulate the planet, so basically the heat from the planet isn't rising off into space, it's going to stay down here, but also to block the sun's rays. They're going to use, and they name the usual things like aluminum, etc., and sulfur. And when I saw that, I was like, oh, snap, whoa, wait a second. Sulfur? This is a new piece. This is a new little piece to the mix, because that's not one that has ever been really outed. It's never been really heavily talked about when it comes to chemtrails. So I immediately started researching sulfur. And when you mix sulfur and hydrogen, you get sulfur dioxide. And you get some really interesting shit. I talked to my buddy Agrode, who has a doctorate in chemistry. And I was like, oh, I need chemistry help. I'll call Agrode.
It's a hydrogen sulfide, Danny.
Hydrogen sulfide, thank you. Hydrogen sulfide. Thank you. See, and
Holy
that's why
shit.
I failed chemistry. I aced physics and biology, though. Just going to say that. Hydrogen sulfide. Okay. Now they go through, and now I'll repost the link to the article that I did because I went nuts. It took me about 2 hours to pull all these articles out and all the little pieces, and the amount of research that is being done on this. The scientists want to build a giant sunshade for the Earth in an astonishing bid to stop global warming. Sunshine could be dimmed in an astonishing attempt by scientists to curb climate change. When experts are hoping to discover if a man-made chemical sunshade would be less risky than the harmful rise in global temperatures. And they talk about it would mimic big volcanic eruptions that can cool the Earth by masking the sun with a veil of ash. Now, so you start looking at the dangers of what we've got going on here when we start talking about things like, oh, sorry, I want to go back to this. A little bit of past history. In 1971, there was a U.S. patent number 3630950, combustible compositions for generating aerosols particularly suitable for cloud modification and weather control in the aerosolization process. 1971. We have found that aluminum sulfide, which forms during the combustion of compositions containing powdered aluminum and sulfur, was one of the things that they were looking at. Now, when you start talking about the sulfur oxides and hydrogen sulfide, do you know what they bind with most readily? Mercury. Binds with mercury very happily. Also binds with water. So I did this article, did all of this, and then today, someone happened to mention something. I don't even know what post it was. Someone put a post up in the UnFuckers room, and it was talking about weather and strange smells. And someone said, yeah, we had this really strange smell in England for like 2 weeks. It smells like rotten eggs. And I went, oh, snap. Yeah. Because when you look at what are the physical symptoms, the risks of hydrogen sulfide, all your mucous membranes are irritated, breathing problems, sinus problems, sore throat, mucus in the eyes, Ben, eye discharge, ear discharge, heavy mucus buildup in the lungs. What have we all, not to mention death, obviously, John. What have we all been talking about for months now? 4 months, we have been talking about how everyone has the cough. Everyone's got clogged sinuses, and they can't move it. You cannot get rid of it. And it doesn't get any worse, but it doesn't get any better. And you got like goo in your ears and goo coming out of your eyes. Okay? So I started researching, and I started pulling up a list. And I asked people, I put a post out on Facebook and said, is anyone noticing in the last however long the smell of rotten eggs, the smell of sulfur? Multiple, all over Texas, all over England, Australia, in several places in Russia, in Moscow, especially since December, but most of the reports started in last August, is when the reports started building. And then there was a massive amount of reports in December. What did we all experience over Christmas? What did we all talk about? How everyone was fucking sick over Christmas. There's a shit ton of reports. Texas, Australia, England, over December, and Canada, in southern Canada, around Toronto, around Barrie, around Sarnia, smells of sulfur. And all the natural gas companies are going, no, 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 it's not natural gas leak. It's fine. We've gone and we've tested. We can't find anything when we test. There's no natural gas leaks. Now, some of these, sure, they could be industry. Like some of them was talked about things like one of the ones that was in Ohio, they were moving a massive compost heap, and everyone in the vicinity was complaining about the smell of sulfur. Well, that could be a byproduct of the compost. But timing is just too fucking exact for this to not be that they're testing already. These guys don't put together tests saying they think they can do this. They've already tested this. Now, the company that is running all this fucking promotionals for geoengineering is a company called, hold on, I will pull it up here. Oh, and you'll like this one. This study that was just released, they say solar geoengineering studies may be helped by a new $400,000 research project that has been given out by the Open Philanthropy Project. Oh, a foundation backed by Dustin Moskovitz, co-founder of Facebook. Oh, and do you want to know what else? The Open Philanthropy Project also announced the exact same week as this solar geoengineering. They've awarded $11 million to protein designers to design a universal flu vaccine. So just to give you an idea of the people we're dealing with here. Now, let me pull up this study because I want to give you the name of this company. No, not that one. Hold on. Is this it? I think. Yes. Okay. It's the Keith Group. They're called the Keith Group. They run out of Harvard University. These guys they are the biggest pushers, advocates, lobbyists for geoengineering, chemtrails, and you should go to their site, and it's keith.seas.harvard.edu. And again, I'll put the link in with the archive of this. You go read the stuff that these guys are pushing and studying, and you go research this guy. Oh my God. Agenda, like screaming fucking agenda. So, here we are. If you want to know why you're sick, I'm going to go out on a limb and say that we all have sulfur poisoning. And that is why we can't get rid of the stuffed noses, and why we can't get rid of the coughs and the sore throats that just keep coming and going. And it gets better for a while, and then all of a sudden it comes back, and it just always seems to coincide with like heavy spraying again. So, needless to say, Anne and I had a big discussion about this privately. And okay, so what do we do? How do we counteract the symptoms of this? How do we counteract hydrogen sulfide reactions? Can we do it through homeopathy, through tissue salts, et cetera, et cetera? So it's going to be a conversation we're definitely going to get a lot more into. Don't know, Tracy, that's what we're working on. We got to find the antidote. What is the counteraction? What can we do to counteract it? Because hydrogen sulfide is we have all of our attention goes to like mercury, aluminum. Will chelation work? I don't know. But it is definitely one that we're going to be putting a lot of work in. We need to figure this shit out. And yeah, I mean, you talk about pets. Pets are getting sick. Pets are having the cough too, and we had it with Groot for months and months, had this horrible dog cough. Well, let's start looking at this. So that was my opening rant. Hydrogen sulfide coming to an air particle near you. Binds with water. Oh, and that's the other thing. Oh, Gail, you're going to love this piece. So when I'm looking at the sulfur smells and trying to look up where they were coming up, are you ready for this one? I'm going to show you guys this. Hold on. Here we go. I've lost Zoom again. There we go. Screen share. Do you guys remember in England when the sun turned red? Back in, what was that, October? Or was that November? October. When all of a sudden the skies turned yellow and the sun turned an orangey pinkish red color? Right. Do you know what else was noticed at the exact same time? It's right here in the second paragraph. It was so dark in places that the street lights even came on in the middle of the day, and others reported smelling a sulfur-like smell. So, did someone overly bomb the UK that day? Because if I'm not mistaken, and maybe one of you guys can help me out with this, John, is not sulfur yellow?
Can be.
It is yellow. Once it's in gaseous form, other forms, it'll change colors too.
Right, but what if they like drench so many particles that, I mean, because the sky turned yellow, and they tried to say it was like a dust storm from the Sahara, and I'm like, okay, look, we live like fucking in Morocco next to the fucking Sahara, and we're here in Gozo where we've been having sandstorms from the Sahara for 3 weeks straight now, and the sun's never fucking turned red. Or pink.
Elemental sulfur, yellow sulfur is hydrophobic. So if you can gather up a little bit of a quantity of it, drop a drop of water on it, if the water just beads up and rolls off, it's probably sulfur.
Yep.
What colors are hydrogen flames supposed to be?
Hydrogen flame is blue, very bright blue.
Yeah.
Yep. So yeah, I thought that was pretty damn interesting. That the sulfur smell was very strongly noted. Yeah, there you go. Gail's showing the picture. Yeah. Was very strongly noted when the red sun happened. So, yeah.
So many of those chemical components are mimicking a whole bunch of stuff that's going on right now.
Oh, absolutely.
And quite a lot of experiments and also replication of natural cycles, because the sulfur cycle is actually what creates rain.
Yes, it does.
Okay. And what was it you were saying? Is it sulfur that you were saying that bonds with mercury?
Yep.
Yeah. So then you've also got they are or were using barium. Yep. In the chemtrails, and barium was like that. Well, barium especially, and the reason I mentioned barium is because that's what they used in Chernobyl. They sprayed barium out to try and ground most of the nuclear waste. So we had this theory back in about, I think it was like 2014, 2015, when we were going through the chemical makeups of what had been released on some of the chemtrail stuff. And we started postulating that perhaps they were using barium to do the same sort of thing as what could be happening with sulfur, which is basically bringing down the radiation, which is, of course, it blows off in the ionosphere.
Right.
And trying to